from Matt as they go from the drag cone flat out into this first corner, irrelevant of the conditions. And you can see there Matt trying to get as close as he can while using the judge line, and Matt Carter with a huge amount of angle through that bottom corner. And as they go through that final section, David Waterworth was judged to have had a big enough advantage over the two runs.
So the next battle is the next top 8 battle of Remo Neeson against Mark Huxley. Remo Neeson is the lead car from Team Falcon. Mark Huxley in the Corolla with a little bit of an error there as he comes down the hill, slightly straight with not as much angle as Remo in that first battle there, so he will be marked down.
A winner, and they wanted to see him run one more time, so that means they want to see him again. They could have picked out anything out of the ordinary to put him through and give him that podium finish, #1. So into the battle #1 of this one more time. Look how Paul Smith is just tucking into that GT86 around the first corner. Great camera angle there as we can see Paul Smith from Team Jap Speed as the chase car, trying to catch Frederick Asbo up as much as possible, but a huge gap has been created.
Our next top 16 battle, we're going to see Wayne Keeber in the Steelmate Toyota Sora as the chase car, chasing Jack Shanahan, a 15-year-old driver in the Team Aero Kit S14A. Jack Shanahan, though, no stranger to the podium. He got first place at Liddon Hill earlier in the year, and he is putting in a great run here at Anglesey. We are into our 3rd and 4th place battle of Nathan Chivers and Matt Tilliard. Matt is the lead car. Both these drivers are teammates driving for Team GDA, but driving in competition today, looking for that 3rd spot on the podium. One of these drivers will take that position. Which one is it going to be? Into this second run, so Ben Rowland now flicks it in there. Second run, Mark Clegg's going to have to try and do everything he can to pressurise Ben Rowland now into making a mistake, but Ben Rowland keeping it calm and collective as he goes round the tight hairpin corner, a little bit off clip, but it's no way going to shake off that advantage that he's got. A dab of the brakes just to try and control the car in these poor conditions, and Mark Clegg putting in a fantastic chase run. A little bit on the dirt there.
So we see them run in the alternative positions with Martin Batty leading Steve into that first corner. You can see Martin initiating just fractionally early, but Steve perfect on that clipping point on the inside. Steve again perfect on the inside of the clip, and Martin Batty just keeping in front of Steve there through that final section. And the
right into the top 8 now sees Darren McNamara and Wayne Keeber. Wayne Keeber running wide there and going off the track. Oh my God, he just couldn't get to the grips on that first corner, giving a huge advantage to Darren McNamara in the AE86, powered by a rotary engine. So we saw Wayne Keeber there into the first corner, a little bit too committed, couldn't keep with the grip levels, and he took him track. So it's going to come down to battle #2. Kieran obviously with a massive advantage into the second battle. So here we go. Both drivers looking extremely fast. Kieran is all over Mark as Mark puts 2 wheels off the back, smashing up his back bumper, but keeps the drift on. But that does give a huge advantage to Kieran, giving him that all-important #1 on the podium in Pro Class.
Last, we're going to see the battle for 3rd and 4th place. Alex Law going up against Chris Hawkins in the S13, the lead car. Fantastic initiation from Chris Hawkins. He's going to use the extra power in that car this year to try and pull a gap on Alex Law, following in the S14A. As they exit that hairpin corner, Chris turns on the smoke and extension against Mark Huxley. The battle of the Badgers. Mike Marshall, the lead car, with Huxley closing and closing onto Mike Marshall, almost brushing Mike, and Mike running slightly wide to avoid a collision, and off the circuit, nudging the tyres. He's going to give a massive advantage to Mark Huxley. Mark Huxley keeps his foot down in that Volvo with that V8 powered BMW engine. As he goes through that final corner, the advantage will be. So Jack Shanahan did move through into the top 8, and he sees Gary Dunn, a fellow Irish driver, competing over here in the British Drift Championship. Both drivers putting in a good run so far, but Gary Dunn flicking a wheel off the circuit. He's going to be penalised massively by the judges. He's lost a lot of ground now to Jack Shanahan, who's just smoking those Nexen tyres across that finish line. We'll chase him into the first corner. Paul with a good and early initiation. nice and tight through that clipping point. Good transition as Paul takes the line and the judges ask for, and Simon straightens there. He's going to be penalised by the judges for that. Paul Cheshire will use that to his advantage and go through into the Grade 8. Be face into this first corner. Shane O'Sullivan will be the lead car. Simon flicks it in behind him. Both drivers taking that qualifying line, but an error from Simon Perry allowing Shane O'Sullivan to try and gain a small advantage, but Simon is straight back underneath his door in the hairpin corner. Down the hill, Shane O'Sullivan pulling a slight lead and maybe taking the advantage. I'm sure it'll come down to this second run though. And this circuit has been used for drifting in reverse, and Richard Grindrod's using the power there to try and pull a lead as they go through that puddle once again. But Gary Dunn closing the gap, showing some good proximity. A dab of the brake there to control the speed and the position of the car as he knocks the bumper off on that wall as he's rubbing close to Richard Grindrod, but Richard may just take this. We'll have to wait and see.
Viper powered S15 against Martin Batty with the R35 powered S15, and you can see the drivers both very, very equal and both using that judge line. It's a very important part of drifting, as we will see all the way through these events throughout the year.
From Team Falcon against Simon Perry from Team Lasser, so it's Falcon versus Lasser in this battle. Matt Carter, last year's champion, running wide there as Simon Perry puts that skyline on the back of that S14 as they transition to go into the final corner. Simon Perry getting nice and close there to Matt Carter. That is exactly what the judges wanted to see, taking the qualifying line but also getting very close during that last corner all the way to the final. So big respect to James Fuller. Now they're going to switch around, and here they go over the hill with both exactly the same initiations, but James Fuller coming in a little bit too fast there, sending him slightly wide on the final corner and sending him off the track. He does not want to be doing that in the final, especially against Remo, but an absolutely fantastic day for James Fuller. But Remo Neeson,
good initiation from both drivers. Chris Hawkins is closing the gap into that hairpin. A small error from Alex Law forcing Chris into making a correction, but Chris is straight back on it, and as you can see on the door of the car loan for you S14A, down that hill and into the final corner. Chris Hawkins showing great car control there in that run. Dan is the lead car with a fantastic initiation. Gaz is going to chase him down in this first corner. Dan perhaps putting a little bit of a lead with some pressure on Gaz, but he runs wide there with one wheel nipping off the circuit. Gaz has probably got the advantage from the judges as they make their way round the final part of this middle section. A small correction from both drivers as Gaz just needs to drift round that final corner, looking to take drifters of Europe doing battle in the final round here at Anglesey. As we've said, a new circuit for all drivers, and we're going to see already crowned champion Shane O'Sullivan in the Team Jack Speed S15 going up against Mark Huxley in the RA28 Celica. As you can see, Mark Huxley with a huge straighten there and a big error, which I suspect will allow Shane O'Sullivan to take an experience as a Formula D driver to try and claw back an advantage from Wesley Keating. Ryan using all of the power from that 2JZ powered Lexus IS200 to try and extend the gap, but Wesley Keating is all over him in that final corner, putting in a fantastic run. It looks like Wesley against Irish driver Brian Egan in the now supercharged powered Honda S2000 AA86 as he makes a big correction in the first corner. Piling through that smoke though, he's chasing nice and close to Mike Marshall. However, Mike is just going to extend that gap with that 550 horsepower from that BMW. Luis Lopez, the lead car in the Aero Kit S14 powered by a V8, Phil Morrison in the Driftworks AA86 as Phil closes the gap on the hairpin corner. He is absolutely stuck to Luis Lopez, like when he touches, he backs off and he rubs, and he's absolutely stuck to the door of Luis Lopez. What an
15. So this time Ollie Elmore leads the way from Martin Batty. They pass the drag cone, which you can see placed in the middle of the track, and Ollie Elmore initiates with a handbrake. Martin Batty, with his back bumper missing, comes down the hill and tries and closes up on the inside inside of Ollie Elmore through that final turn, using all the power of that R35 engine to get up close and reasonably close.
And it's going to go into battle number 2. So into the first corner they go. Better initiation there from Wayne Keeber, but Darren McNamara is in that A86 behind him, and he's going to get ever so close around this final corner now. You can see Darren McNamara just reeling Wayne Keeber in all the way around this last corner.
Shane Lynch, so very early initiation there from James Fuller again, been driving exceptionally well. Remember, he's just a pro driver, eligible to compete in Super Pro today, so he's giving Shane Lynch a definite run for his money, as Shane Lynch is using everything in that V8 twin turbo to try and catch James Fuller up from that.
The lead car with a fantastic entry, but Simon Perry, used to aggressive driving, is going to keep it pinned and on the door of Phil Morrison into the hairpin close proximity. Simon will push it down the hill into that final corner. Can he keep it close to Phil Morrison, or can Phil Morrison stretch the lead? Close battle.